I recently decided to start the process of cleaning out my camera roll for more storage, going all the way back to my phone's inception and cringing very badly at the photos and memes I used to use as reaction pictures. Among the reaction pictures I used to use are, these. I don't even know what to call these, like this genre of reaction picture. And so I was staring at these photos I used to use and honestly started to spiral down a rabbit hole and existentially consider the implication of this kind of reaction picture. These are truly relics of a society and a time gone by. And this video isn't to say that you shouldn't use them anymore if you still do. I just want to look into what makes these pictures look and feel the way that they do and why they seem so dated in the current day of reaction pictures and memes. I want to try and categorize them very plainly in a way. But first, if you don't know, reaction pictures are exactly what they sound like. It's a picture you send as a reactionary response to a message that captures your feeling about the matter at hand without words. If somebody tells me something that is overly complicated or that I would have a tough time responding to with words, I'll normally send a picture of Xing Xing the monkey drinking apple juice and looking disinterested or preoccupied to convey that I don't really know how to respond to what was just said. That's how reaction pictures are used generally, and that's where these styles of K-pop reaction pictures come into play. If somebody says something wholesome or nice to me, I could send this photo to convey my appreciation, basically expressing how I feel about it with a picture instead of expressing it with words. I could also send the photo first and then express how I feel with words, a kind of double whammy in terms of reaction. But why is it now so embarrassing to use these types of photos? What separates Xing Xing the monkey from a picture of Felix with PNG lash extensions and nails? I think the underlying reason why these photos feel so dated is because of their conspicuousness. These photos are too obvious and express feelings too clearly. Hear me out on this. The most noticeable characteristic is the inclusion of additional editing elements. Image-based graphics like the nails and lash extensions, as well as text, certainly help these photos to feel more dated. Text, especially if the terminology used has also become outdated over the years. From this understanding, and after thinking about it for a while, if I had to give a scientific name to these types of pictures, I would call them conspicuous K-pop reaction pictures. We have to think about why additional elements are being included here. I think primarily, these additional elements are included to give us context, which is extremely important to our analysis and categorization. These reaction pictures, whether it be through the included text or associated emojis and graphical elements, tell you pretty explicitly what the picture is supposed to be used for. A picture of a K-pop idol holding a whiteboard with superimposed text reading, "I never asked," it's pretty clear what situation you would use this in, right? The inclusion of text is kind of dangerous work in terms of posterity. Phrases and terms adopted by mainstream pop culture unfortunately burn out relatively quickly as they get into the wrong hands of people who don't really know how to use them but try to use them anyways. People still use the word shook to this day, but using it in the context of a K-pop related meme in the modern day is quite strange. It's considered gauche by today's standards, not as sophisticated as the more recent additions to the culture of reaction pictures. That isn't to say Xing Xing the monkey is timeless though. I'm sure there will come a day where the style of monkey reaction pictures is considered overly dated and embarrassing. I know I'll look back one day on the use of Xing Xing and cringe just as I am about these K-pop photos now. But I believe this is exactly it. What separates Xing Xing as a quote modern day reaction picture is its genuine inconspicuousness. It doesn't really mean anything. It doesn't require the reader to have to reconcile with any specific concept or idea and has no previous tie to a social concept or phenomenon. As some kind of roundabout consequence of that, monkey reaction pictures feel somewhat sophisticated in the world of online communication for their inconspicuousness. This comes as a part of what I believe is a larger conversation about the impact that image-based reaction media has on comedy. Some people argue that the advent of graphical elements to discourse, like pictures and emojis especially, have damaged humor and comedy in a lot of ways. The idea here is that if an emoji already represents the feeling and emotion tied to whatever is being discussed, that kind of damages the potential for contextual humor and organic comedy to come about in an online context. Emojis, as useful as they can be, close the gaps in communication and thus has an adverse effect on humor. A kind of offset solution to this problem is where I think the ironic use of emojis to represent a mixed range of emotions come from, and I think that's it. The difference between a conspicuous K-pop reaction picture and Xing Xing the monkey is the same difference between why people have adopted the crying emoji to stand in place of the traditional laughing emoji. It's less conspicuous and can encompass much more forms of laughter than the traditional one can. In the current day, as it relates to reaction pictures, the more inconspicuous the better, as it allows for a much broader range of emotions and more context. Because of this, What categorizes and dates these K-pop reaction pictures is their conspicuousness. They're too on the nose and express a singular, often unnuanced emotion that has to be reconciled with. This has kind of become a faux pas in most social communities on the internet today. These pictures are made and edited to be very obvious as to what they're trying to convey, are tied to a specific time period in an idol's career, sometimes reference pop culture trends that were popular at the time of their creation, and thus have experienced a very quick burnout cycle as a result of all of these things. This is why I'd coined this style as conspicuous K-pop reaction pictures. These pictures are a lot of things, but I feel like they're first and foremost intended to be very direct in their messaging, which is oddly something that has gone out of style in recent times. Also conspicuous in the way that it's very obvious when they were made sometimes. Despite having no text associated with it, the graphic elements tied to this photo of Felix cause it to become gauche in the modern day. Attaching P&G lash extensions and a full set of nails to male K-pop idols is a uniquely 2016 to 2019 trend. It doesn't really age that well, and also doesn't really convey that much emotion to begin with, besides what? Pettiness or luxury, maybe? That's kind of where I am right now as far as these pictures go. All of this is subjective. It depends on the user and the receiver's sense of comedy and humor and understanding of context. The deeper I look into these types of photos, the harder it is to distinguish what is dated and what is not. For example, this photo versus this photo. The photo on the left does not feel as cringy to use as the photo on the right, but why is this the case? Again, I think it boils down to the difference of ambiguity. It's the context of how the photos are used that matters when attempting to consider their posterity online. I can use the photo on the left to express that I'm embarrassed, frustrated, sad, or maybe even happy and grateful if I'm expressing tears of joy. I can attach this photo to statements like, I just tripped for the 4th time in the past 2 hours, thank you for the letter you sent me, it was so sweet, or I didn't know there was an exam today. By comparison, the photo on the right is tricky to explain. You can actually use it technically to describe all of the same situations as the photo on the left and notice how the context of the sentiment kind of changes if this is the reaction picture you use. An argument can be made that it's just as versatile as the photo on the left, but there seems to be some contextual parameters that are met with the use of the photo. Firstly, the sentiment expressed in the photo definitely makes it feel like the associated text should be in all caps to express that you're yelling or overly frustrated or upset about something, whether that be out of frustration or just a surge of emotions. That's kind of the overarching idea here. The photo on the left has less contextual parameters it brings to the conversations it can be attached to. It's less overbearing in the process and thus more inconspicuous in use. All in all, and as I said, this is entirely subjective to whatever culture and context or groups online that you exist in. I'm very sure there are still cultures on the internet that still use conspicuous K-pop reaction pictures unironically, and this video isn't to say that it's wrong to use them. I just wanted to categorize them in some ways. I mean, me personally, I'm currently using photos of a monkey in China to express how I feel on the internet. All of this is really ridiculous, but something that I wanted to look into to try and categorize. It's interesting to look at the trajectory of memes and reaction pictures across the years. We've come a long way from the top text, bottom text memes, especially in the K-pop community. You can really tell a lot about how much the K-pop community has changed by observing the memes we used to use and engage with. Unironically, I'm being very serious. I think we can do a lot of anthropological work by observing K-pop memes of the past, understanding where the K-pop community has come from or evolved from. Why were these memes used? What kinds of people used to be these social trendsetters and so on? I say that like these people aren't around anymore, but nevertheless, I think all of this is so interesting. I think that's all that I have for right now, my understanding and outline for what I think are conspicuous K-pop reaction pictures. Definitely let me know what you think about this. Do you still use these photos to this day? Again, I'm not shaming anybody who does. I really have no room to talk at this moment in time. I'm currently using pictures of monkeys from China to express how I feel on the internet. Yeah, let me know what you think about this. Thank you so much for watching this if you did. Subscribe if you want to, and I will see you next time.